to the Black and White Podcast Season 3. We are back with another podcast episode. My name is Birch, and I am joined by the most incredible podcast host in the game, Miss Lauren Nicole Paul, my wifey, my baby mama. How you doing this day, young lady?
Up until you said my name, I was like, where's she at?
Listen, don't trip. You get the people what they want. Listen. It's great to be having another podcast episode. We're excited. It's going to be a great one. We've been having some great conversations in season 3 with this new format with interviews, and man, we're just loving the people that we got coming into the podcast. We believe that they're going to bring valuable wisdom and insight, perspective, and really just stories that are really cool that I think a lot of people who are listening to the podcast are going to really enjoy, right?
Well, and if you guys know me, I'm not amazing. However, I love people.
Yes.
And so this format is my favorite because it's what I do. I love the intimate setting. I love the ministry and the conversations that happen usually without the camera that we hope that was the whole point of this podcast.
Yeah.
Like, it's actually kind of funny, like how it's kind of progressed into this, where this was the whole point. This podcast came out of moments like this before the microphones, before the cameras, where we were like, man, we wish other people could hear the conversations that we're having. And so, yeah, it's going to be awesome. Yeah. I'm really excited.
Yeah.
Really excited about today.
Yeah, we've got an incredible couple with us on the podcast. So come on, everybody. Welcome to the Black and White Podcast. Kenny and Heather Randleman.
What's going on?
I knew he was going to do an effect.
I know. I love it. I love it.
I was waiting for it.
Yeah, we're excited to have you guys on the podcast.
This is our podcast debut.
Come on.
Yes.
First timers.
I love that he said debut. As in there are more to come.
Oh, that's
right.
right.
Man.
That's right.
Come on now.
It's grand opening, you know what I'm saying?
The jury's still out.
I love it. Hey, and listen, the Black and White Podcast, let's go biracial couples. Let's go. Let's go.
Literally.
We're here. Represent. Represent.
In the building. We're in the building. Yeah. So so obviously like we've kind of got to know you guys maybe even a little bit better over the last year and a half or so. It's kind of unique how you guys, we ended up in each other's lives. And, we moved to Richmond a year ago, and you guys have been in the Richmond area for the last few years. And it's kind of like we just found, people that we really love in you guys. And so getting to know you and having you guys just like allow us to speak into your life, for you guys to encourage us, to share meals together. It's been awesome. It's been amazing. And I think there are always like people that you did not expect, like just around the corner, that are going to be part of your community. And for us moving to Richmond, you guys are a big part of that. And so I feel like it'd be cool for just our listeners to kind of get to know you guys. Like, who are you? How long you guys been married? A little bit about who you guys are.
I think first off, can I say this? I think me and Birch, we met probably like 2015 or 16. So it was like way back when.
That's true.
Like for the first time, it was at like some church event. And, I always thought you were awesome. I was like, oh man, I just want to be like Birch when I grow up. And so it's cool.
He's eating this up. Go ahead. Keep
going.
Right.
No, I'm going to stop there.
Stop. Keep going.
Come on. And then later on, me and Lauren connected through hair products and stuff like that. I used to have dreads. And so it's cool to come around,
you guys have
in this
reversed.
Season. I know. I have a fade.
You cut off the locks.
Birch has dreads.
I'm going to need a retwist. So I'm going to keep my head on for now.
I love that you mentioned that, because before you guys, share a little bit about you, I love that you mentioned that. So I was actually going to say, I actually knew of Kenny because Birch connected us through the hair care journey. Yeah. But I remember, because I follow all of my customers because I'm that committed. I remember realizing that you had this beautiful wife, and I was like, gosh, I want to meet her someday. And then the day happened, because then we go to the Richmond campus of the church that we're a part of. Yep. And do you remember the first time I was like, oh my gosh, your wife. Okay. Hi. Like, we need to be friends. I need to know you. So it's funny that it's, from, you guys worship, hair, and now just life in ministry. And so I love that.
Yeah. It's super
tell
cool.
us now, you guys tell us about yourselves.
Yes. So we just celebrated 7 years in June.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's awesome.
It's crazy. Coming up on 10.
Hey.
Yeah.
7 is close to 10.
Yeah.
Right?
A few more years.
That's it. Yeah.
Rounding up, you know.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've been married. We got married in 2015. We met 2011 at a school, at a ministry school in South Carolina. We started dating a few years after that, and got married, and we moved. Actually, Heather's from this area in Virginia, and I followed her up, followed the girl up here.
Go ahead.
We got married, and 7 years later, we're here. We're working together.
Yes, we are.
That's been a crazy journey. We've been working together for a little over a year now, at the same place that. Well, so Heather started getting into social worker, kind of area. I guess over 2 years ago or close to 2 years ago.
Yeah, it'll be 2 years in November.
Wow.
Which is so crazy.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
I know.
Love that.
It's a whole new world.
Because you followed her to Virginia.
Yeah.
So then now you followed her to this job.
I know.
Yeah. I'm just following her
Heather,
everywhere.
you are a force.
Right?
Yeah. And so it's called Fostering Acadia.
Yes.
It's an independent living organization. We work with youth that age out of the foster care system, ages 18 to 21. And it's been awesome. So
yeah. Yeah, it's a very relational based job. So sometimes it doesn't even feel like a job. So we're just building relationships with them and building rapport, and it really does help encourage them and helps you to be able to speak into their lives. Because a lot of times, like, people are always telling them what to do, and they don't want to do it because you don't have that relationship with them. So, it's like,
so that's what we do.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a dog.
Yeah, come on, talk
puppy.
about your dog.
We
Your
love
dog's
him.
beautiful.
That's our baby right now.
Golden
we don't
retriever,
have
right?
a human baby, but we have a dog baby.
I love it.
Beautiful.
It's very fluffy.
I
Furry
love that.
babies.
Yes.
Listen, we have 3 boys, and every time my sister is going out of town, she has 4 dogs. Okay, she has a lot of property, a lot of land.
Dogs.
Yeah.
And I say I'd rather take on 4 kids than 4 dogs.
Yeah.
It is like having a child. It's a lot.
It's a lot.
Eventually, your human children go to the bathroom by themselves, but your fur babies, you
True.
still have to do all
Yeah,
the
take
things.
them out.
It's a lot.
And they throw tantrums sometimes.
Oh, I
too.
bet.
Yeah, speaking of human babies, you guys are going to see some running back and forth.
It's
So,
this is real life. We're
This
here.
is real
That's
life.
right. That's
Speaking
right.
of, as I said,
On cue.
Okay, side note, he was told not to do that, just so you know. But,
that's real life.
he's not afraid of us.
But we'll dive into some of Fostering Acadia and stuff like that. But man, one thing that you guys aren't telling our people, you guys are like incredible musicians, singers, worship leaders, and even we're saying like over the years we've kind of like not really like been tight, but like known of each other and stuff, and always kind of had like similar friendships and stuff. And I knew you were like doing a lot of songwriting and stuff like that. Like anything happening with that? Like any music? I mean, I'm always pushing artists to put out music. So like, is there any? I don't know if I'm like putting you guys out on blast.
Like that. He didn't even give you any warning on that.
What's happening? Any new stuff that like? I mean, can I be looking out for anything? Can I like co-write with you?
I feel like this is a letdown now, but not really. I mean, we're still doing music and stuff like that. Serving at our church, and still trying to get into the writing field a little bit more and push that, but. Yeah, I mean, nothing on the horizon. I mean, we have dreams and aspirations to put out music in the future.
Together?
So, together.
Hey, how about this? We make a promise. You guys, whenever your first release is, you will come on the podcast and you guys will perform a song on the podcast.
I'm here for it.
Yes. Love
That'd
it.
be tight.
I'm here for it.
That'd be sick. All right, cool.
Yeah.
We'll also volunteer to sing on your album. Is that okay?
Oh, come on.
Yes.
Come on. BGVs.
First got
Lay them down.
Just mute my microphone, okay?
No, but
Aesthetics.
Worship
It's gonna look
leaders.
great.
That's right. Energy. Good energy.
Energy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So you guys are at the total package. I mean, you're investing in people. You're, leading worship. You guys love the Lord. Married, 7 years. I mean, it's incredible. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'd love to know for you guys, like, obviously through any bit of life, you need people, you need community. And, what kind of has that been like for you guys? You got very involved professional lives, but like, what does community look like for you guys as a couple? Going 7 years, very, very invested in what you do, but needing to just be having your arms held up by people. What's community look like for you guys in the last 7 years for you?
Yeah, community, I feel like it's been so different throughout the year. So like when we first got married, we used to hang out with friends all the time. So I feel like we'd have game nights at our house a lot, or like we would switch friends' houses.
The early 20s.
Yes, early 20s.
When it was like, hey, you want to hang out tonight? Yeah, sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Always
yeah.
down.
Yeah,
Like
always
Little
down.
Caesars pizza or something like super like, or cookout or something really simple.
All the bad cheap stuff.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh,
Yes.
Early 20s.
Yes,
All we could afford.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yes.
Hamburger
Little
helper.
Caesars.
Yeah, hamburger helper.
Yeah.
Hamburger helper.
Yes.
Oh my
The
goodness.
tuna hamburger helper.
We would, yeah.
Tuna hamburger.
No,
Yes.
it
I
ain't
mean,
it.
it's
I've
good.
never heard
Sounds
of that
like-
one.
We did what we had to do.
Sounds like it hits different, but not in the.
I mean, in your mind, you're like, protein.
Right?
Yeah.
But
Sustenance.
he actually cooked the first few years of our marriage, then I took over. So you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So you said, so game nights, it sounds like what I'm hearing is like frequency was like
Yes.
a lot of time spent with
Yeah,
friends.
for sure.
Oh yeah.
So then I'm sure, because we all know if you're listening and you're in a marriage, it probably changed.
Yeah.
Oh, for
Yeah.
sure.
So what has that looked like when it's shifted or changed? Like how have you still made time for community in your marriage?
Yeah. I think for us, I mean, we've been super blessed over the years to have, good community around us. And I think, to what Heather was saying, in our early 20s, it was all the time hangs.
Yeah.
And then it kind of shifted to people, finding other careers, moving away, getting married, relationships, all that thing, all that stuff. And so I think even now, it's sort of that way, but we make more time intentionally. Like, so I think before it was super frequent and it was just kind of like whatever. And now like we have to make time to actually have quality time together. And it's not just like super sporadic.
Yeah.
And so we've been really more intentional about how we spend our time with our friends. So
That's
I love
great.
that. I know, because obviously I love that when we met and we connected, something Birch said, like, first of all, in honor, like, we're like over a decade. I say we, because it averages over a decade, you're seniors. But we're just so humbled and honored that you guys, like Birch said, like you even invite us to be a part of like your relationship and just kind of just being that couple that like wants to like just like spur you on and encourage you and help you be better in your marriage and all that. I know when Heather and I first connected, we talked a lot about like probably in the season you're in now, where like what you said, you have to be intentional with community.
Yeah.
Because if you're not careful, one of two things will happen. It'll be just you two all the time and no community. Or what often happens in your age group is you guys think time with you and friends is quality time for you guys.
Right.
And it's always with other people.
We've been guilty.
And so like, I mean, trust me, we've been there. And I know when we were talking about this, it was one of the things I asked was like, okay, so when you guys are hanging out with other people, obviously you're not going to have a how are we conversation. So what does that look like in this season now where you're realizing like community is important,
right?
And you want to plan that time, have that, but to also be aware of where it takes all the time where you guys are not having time, just the two of you. So you said we're guilty of that. So for someone listening like that's like huge for them to hear. Like, it's kind of like I hate the word balance, but it really is kind of a give and take of community, but also us.
Yeah.
And so how do you guys do that? Like in this season, because you work together, you have the same friends probably, right? Same circles. You actually serve at church together, which is so cool. This just fell out of my ear. So like, how do you guys find time to make sure, because you're assuming we're together. We're always together. We spend time.
All the time.
All the time. Yeah. So how do we make it, like you said, quality over quantity?
Yeah. I think, I mean, y'all have been a big factor in helping us with this and like encouraging us to, go on date nights, even take that intentional time just to spend it with us. I think it was probably one of the first times that like we've hung out together with all of us that y'all kind of not called us out on that, but like we mentioned, a lot of times, we hang out with our friends and, that's kind of been our time, but really encouraging us to spend that time, those consistent date nights. And so that's something like we're still trying to do. But we've taken steps and gotten better, over the years. So.
Yeah. And like even something that you said was not every date night has to be fun or you going out and doing something, but being very intentional about how you want to grow together.
Yeah.
So we did that within the last month or month and a half. But yeah, I just talked about like different goals that we want to enforce and just goals together, goals separately. So he's more goal oriented than I am. So sometimes it takes like that little push for me to do it, which he balances me out. So sometimes I'll get him to kind of slow down and he pushes me to go forward. So
that was one of like our best date nights too. Like, you know, just setting goals and like just dreaming together. You know, I feel like before, you know, it's been a while since we kind of did that together, you know, and like Heather said, you know, I'm always dreaming. I'm always looking ahead. I'm always like, okay, I want to do this, this, and this. I can see us doing this.
This is where the table has alignment going this way.
Yeah, right.
I love it.
But doing that together has been such a game changer, and we're on the same path, you know, going the same way. You know, we know what's in each other's hearts. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. I got to ask you guys too. Do you guys ever get like, this might be a weird question to ask, but because you just said like, you know, you guys work together and then like you also do music together and you have a lot. Do y'all ever get tired of each other? And what do you do to like not get tired of each other?
Be smart with your answer. Just
no, that's serious. That's serious.
No, we want real. We want real.
No, here's the thing. Because you might be like, no, never. But like at sometimes too, like I think like I know there's times where like I love you to death. You're my best friend. But like I know you need some you time and I know I need some me time.
Oh, that's a fact. Yes.
And like like we don't do as much as far as like some of the professional things together that it really even gets to be that much. But I can imagine for you guys, there's times where you're like, you know, I need to make sure I, you know who I am as a person. And like sometimes the whole absence makes the heart grow fonder thing. I don't know if that's ever become a thing for you guys or maybe it is.
You go first.
Well,
you go first.
Well, even in like
smart answer, he goes, you go first.
So like, even though we work together, we're not always seeing each other. So like we're on different teams. So we have different youth that we look after.
Got it.
So like we'll see each other in passing sometimes, or like if we have like a work meeting, we'll be together. But and even like with serving at church, typically like I'll sing and he'll, as right now, playing instruments or, you know, talk back mic and stuff. So it's like we're almost like in separate things even though we're together.
Yeah.
So I feel like there is that space.
Yeah.
And then we have to drive separately for work so that we get space as well, because we drive about 45 minutes. So we get that time apart. And then
that's always good.
You'll game
the drive.
some. So like even though I'm at home, we'll watch a show or an audiobook or something.
Game with the boys, you know.
Yeah. And I'll hang out with Milo Boy. Or I've been exercising too. So going to the gym.
Okay.
He'll play disc golf. So we have like our separate things.
Dude, I love disc golf.
Love it. It's great.
Yeah. I don't know what that is.
It's like imagine like frisbees, but like they're like different weights and stuff.
Okay.
And then there's like a field and there's like a little like bucket basically with chains around it that you're throwing it into.
It's a whole thing.
It's very
It's a whole
tight.
thing.
It's very tight.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's very cool.
So you're saying you don't get sick of me?
Well, there's times, yes.
Oh, yeah, here we go.
There are.
Because I was like, man, I don't want to talk after this.
He's like, well, I was going to say.
Yeah, I can.
Okay, we're going to put out a disclaimer, okay? Anything shared on this episode cannot be held against each other.
Okay, I'm down.
Kidding.
I'm down.
It's like in counseling where you're like, and then afterwards you're like, we need to talk.
Right.
So what about for you? Because obviously she said like you are, but you're not really always together.
Right.
What does that look like for you?
Yeah, I think, you know, we go through our phases of like, you know, there's tension sometimes, you know, and that happens in relationships, especially, you know, when we are together all the time.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like we're more together than what you let it seem. But, you know, I was actually, so I texted Birch, it was probably 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I was kind of feeling that. And I was like, initially I wanted like coffee with Birch to be like, hey, like, I need help. Like what I do. Like,
can I have a guy time? Can I hang out with the guy?
Like, I was like, man, I don't know, like, you know, how to kind of get this weight off me. Not like a weight, but, you know, I was kind of feeling like, it was like, we're spending a lot of time together. It's like, you know, getting a little peeved at things. But it was more like a personal issue. It was more like, you know, I was stressed out about like different things that were going on my end. And, you know, obviously that, you know, creates tension. And so, you know, even what I did, you know, was starting to even pray for Heather even more, being intentional about that. Because I feel like it's hard to be annoyed with someone, when you start praying for them. At least from my end.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. That's great.
Yeah.
That's a good word. Yeah. I think that's a fantastic, like, even if you guys see it differently, I think it's more and more, becoming a normal part of culture, especially like in some areas of ministry and like, things that are in the nonprofit realm. A lot of couples are working together because they have such aligning passions.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful thing. I mean, if people could be guilty of having more in common with their spouse than not, man, that's a great thing to be guilty of, and I just always wonder for couples like that do so much together, if there's ever times where you feel like, I don't know if I have some individuality that I know like how to just even build my own interest too. And so I think, no matter which way you guys felt about it, I just know that there's sometimes people listening, because I know a lot of couples that they're both in worship together, or they're both they both work together, or they run a business together. And sometimes one of the things they're looking for is just like, how do I make sure that like I'm not ever like feeling like I don't have any space, and or like, man, sometimes it's nice to miss each other. You know what I'm saying? Like even like yesterday, at the time of this recording, like I had a rehearsal in the evening and I was gone early in the morning, and there was just like this, I cannot wait to walk through the door to see the family, to see Lauren, to see the boys. And, that happens often. And so sometimes too, you got to almost create some ways, like maybe it is, we're working on separate teams, to like, almost like, I can kind of catch eyes with you every so often, which is pretty tight. And then like, but I also still miss you and I can't wait to like hang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll say this. I think, when everyone was on lockdown and COVID, just to like, for someone listening to speak to this, I first of all, like, applaud you for being real, because I think people need to hear it. Like there was a lot of marriages that didn't make it through COVID because of the amount of time spent together.
Oh yeah.
People didn't know how to be together 24/7.
Yeah.
And so I think of like us right now, since COVID, even though you do still go to the office, there's a lot of weeks where he works from home and I work in online business, literally from my phone home.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'll be honest, I love my husband and I love my children, but enough of those days with all of my humans home all day.
Yeah.
And I will literally sit in the car.
Yeah.
Today was pouring rain on the way back. And I on purpose stayed in the car 40 minutes longer just to finish listening to a podcast, because I knew
the moment you walk in,
that the moment I walked in, and this is again, it's like, I love them. And like you said, Kenny, I can relate to that. They're not the issue. I'm overstimulated. Yeah. I need like space to just like ease in. And so I think that's important for someone to hear, that like, if you're feeling that, that's okay. Here's what's important is like, communicate that.
Yeah.
I'll pull up and like Birch, cause he's the best, he'll be like, come into the door. He's like, and I'm like, I need a minute.
That's more like the boys who are doing that.
Yeah. Or the boys like literally, it's like he just hear the engine or something and they're like running to the car and I'm ready. Like, I'm not ready. Right. I'm not ready. I love you. You're not the issue, but I need a minute. And I've even noticed, like, we have a couple days of that. We were all sick recently. And so we were all like, everything got put on hold. Like all the things that have us apart was like, we're home. And I'm not going to lie. By day 3, I had like major anxiety. Like I even like, and I don't get sad. I get mean. Like, I'm just like, so ice, like passive aggressive, like, please stop talking to me. Like, and it's not, Birch is not the issue. My children are not the issue. It's just, I'm overstimulated and I needed like an outlet. And so I think one of the days I just went for a walk. I looked at all of them and I said, I'm putting sneakers on. I will be gone. One of my sons said, when will you be back? I said, I don't know. Like, I just need to like go for a walk, sweat it out, and like just clear my mind. Guess what? I came back 45 minutes later, same house, same people. I felt great. But it's like the maturity to recognize, hey, it's not you. Yeah. I just need like an out.
Yeah.
And so I just, for someone listening, like we don't work in the same, sphere. And we even have moments where we're like, oh my gosh, like I just need a second.
Yeah.
And I think like communication is key. I share all that to just encourage you guys, but also someone listening to know, I think the reality is whether you work together, do everything together or not, there's always going to be those, you said it perfectly. It's tension. It's like tension. There's nothing wrong. The marriage is not failing. It's not that you don't love each other, but like we're human, right? We need that. Our bubble sometimes needs a little
for sure.
Yeah. So, okay, I want to actually, speaking of what you guys do for work, Heather, you mentioned it's very relational. So if you guys don't mind, tell us what it is that you do. You mentioned a little bit, but like maybe the name of the organization that you partner with. And I think it's important for someone to hear, you know, you're just mentioning off camera, like how sometimes work looks like taking work home. It's not like your traditional, we go to work, we clock out and we leave it at work.
Yeah.
So maybe tell us a little bit about what that looks like for you guys.
Yeah. So we work at an organization called Fostering Acadia. So it's youth who age out of the foster care system. So typically it could be anywhere from 17 to 21. But we are case aides. So we directly work with the youth. So whether if they need to get to an appointment, like dental appointment, physical, or like driving school, go to work. So we give them those funds. Like, so I could say like we use Cash App as of right now. So like we'll give them funds for something. So say technically we're off. So we use our personal phones for work. We chose not to get a separate phone because I'm like, I already lose my phone all the time. I leave it in the bathroom or somewhere random.
You gotta have two phones.
There's
But
no
if you
way.
lose one, you still have the other. I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
Backup phone.
Right. But then now like we have to be super intentional about personal boundaries. So it's so easy for him, but it's so hard for me. So like say if one of my youth reaches out on a Saturday when I'm not working. So I have to decide whether if I'm going to communicate back or like this can wait till Monday type thing. So if they want grocery funds or just want to vent and talk. So sometimes I can take work home. And so like whether if I'm venting, if I'm stressed out about something, Kenny's kind of just like, oh, it's okay. You can just let it go, relax. And sometimes I'll work it up. And like, I just can't stop thinking about it. And so like, I don't know, I can sometimes take my stress out on him and I don't always process it the best.
So what does that look like from your perspective when all that's happening?
Yeah, it's a lot different than I feel like it was in previous years of our marriage. Because I feel like I've transitioned to the opposite side now. I used to be one that, you know, I'm going to work whenever I can, you know, and I would take work home. And, you know, I think that part, you know, that really led to me like just kind of being unhealthy and just like always working, not taking rest seriously. And, you know, this past year I've been really working on that. It's been hard, you know, Enneagram 3. I want to work. I want to do.
Yeah, that's right.
But maybe I'm too far on this side, but I'm like, you know, as soon as I get home, like I'm home, I'm not, you know, taking calls. More often than not, there'll be times where I will, but, not as much as it has been in the past. So, so I think, you know, it's kind of been me trying to bring Heather along in that. And maybe we can try to balance each other out. But I think I would rather be on this side of the spectrum now. It's felt really good, you know, just to have my house, you know, as a place of rest and I'm not working. I can save that to the next day. So,
and then like, I finally feel like I'm in a season of work where I really enjoy it and I feel super fulfilled with what I'm doing. Cause like previous years before, like, I was working at a credit union and it was all about like, you know, sales and it just wasn't my thing. And so like, I just hated my job. And I was like, I'm just doing this to make a paycheck. That's it. And so now like, okay, I actually feel like I'm doing something worthwhile. I'm speaking into young people's lives. You get to see that change in them. See that like their whole process and everything. So like I feel like I take it home more because it means more to me. But then it just gets all messy and I let my emotions get the best of me. And stress Kenny out. So trying to get better about that.
But I think it's really cool to see, just as you guys were sharing that, you guys said like, I think I heard you say you complement each other in the sense of like Kenny's learned the importance of home equals rest. And then like, you know, for you, sometimes you get that, but because you're so committed to the youth's journey, that's what I'm hearing. It's not that you have a problem putting work down. It's you have a problem feeling like you're letting down the individual, the person who might need something outside of a traditional work schedule.
Right.
What's really cool that I'm just hearing is that like, there's going to be moments, we've seen this in our marriage and it's totally different, where like, I notice everything in a room. Like I will walk in a room and I can immediately tell who is by themselves, who like literally looks alone. We used to joke early in our marriage, like Birch doesn't notice those things.
I only notice myself. What do I need? How do I feel?
I wasn't going to say it.
What do I think about this? What do I want to change?
But what is so cool, like what I'm seeing with you guys is like, I'm sure there's already moments where like you need what Kenny brings to help you, whether you like it or not, because we don't like when they're right and they tell us these things. But there are going to be moments where Kenny has to like unapologetically say, listen, I know you're worried, but it can wait.
Yeah.
And then vice versa. Kenny might fall into like, well, I'm not checking my phone, but you might have the discernment to say, no, I think you should check this.
Yeah.
And so like, I think there's still an element of like health to that.
Sure.
It's just, agreeing to disagree sometimes on when like, it's like, but you also said it's relational. And so I do an online business, and something I have had to learn the hard way, because I'm like you, I sell shampoo. It's really not like rocket science, but I am so committed sometimes to like helping people and seeing their results that I can get like you a little bit like, I'm like so obsessed with helping them that when I don't know how to turn it off, I have to remember that it's relational, but I can't take it personal.
Yeah. Yes.
And I think there's a difference when you work with people, ministry. I mean, it's like, in all the worlds that you guys are in, it's relational, but we have to beware not to take everything personal.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. And that's that like, kind of like the boundaries, right? Yeah. I imagine that your youth don't text you as much, because I'm sure the first couple times they did off hours,
get the picture afterwards.
They were like, well, Kenny ain't responding. Or they know better than to wait till your day off.
Yeah.
And so like, I think there's also that element of like, people treat you the way you train them.
Yes.
And so like, just kind of giving yourself permission that Heather has to be able to, recharge before she can continue.
Yeah. And I think it's like a little bit of the season that you're in, like, depending on the industry, or the kind of job, there's certain times where you're pushing, like if you guys are like, you guys probably have seasons like this where it's like you're getting a new wave of youth coming in, or they're getting ready to graduate out, those are probably like big push seasons where it's like we're on all the time, and but then there's times when like, hey, this is not a wave, this is kind of like we're in the normal maintenance kind of rhythm, and we've got to say, we've got to be okay with, I've said it like this before. I'm like, if I'm going to cheat on somebody, I'm going to cheat on the job, because if worst comes to worst, they can find another me. But our relationship, for me and Lauren, there's not going to be another me. You know what I'm saying?
That's Come right. On. Better not.
Contrary to popular belief, Beyonce, I am irreplaceable. You know what I'm saying? And but like the boys are not gonna get another dad. Yeah. Lauren doesn't need to get another husband. They actually do need me.
That's really good.
The job can always replace my performance, rehire my position and things of that nature. So like if there's going to be a time where I have to make that hard decision, I'm going to err on the side of our relationship. But there's also times where I got to say, hey, everybody, next week I'm working 7 days a week and I'm putting in 14-hour days because we're doing something that's really massive that we'll only do once a year. And so like, I'm going to take 2 days off this week to spend with you because next week we probably won't hang out at all. And so just knowing, and then also talk and then communicating that.
I think that's it. Communication is just on the front end and then in the process, on the back end is super important. But I could see that, Heather. I definitely, no matter what I've ever done, I always bring it home because I'm just like,
everything mixes together.
I'll be like, let's talk about this again. Actually, I think there was a situation recently that I was just like, something came to my mind and he was like, hey, babe, listen, we're not having a conversation with this particular situation till like 3 weeks from now. He's like, so he's like, please don't take this the wrong way. I don't want to keep talking about this every day. Like, cause like at this point, there's nothing I can do about it. And I was like, but I'm processing it. But it made sense. Like, I was just like dragging the thing on, because in my mind, I was like, well, no, we got to talk about it. Cause I'm thinking about it. And I needed him to say, listen, like, I'm not trying to like shut you down, but nothing's going to get resolved. Let's just like stop. And when it's time, we'll have this conversation again. And like being able to do that, you know, in the context of a healthy relationship. I wasn't super thrilled. I was like, oh, that was rude. But then of course, you know, I go back and I'm like, yeah, he's probably right.
You just need time to think it through.
I'm on that one right there.
It's recorded too.
Listen,
come on, somebody. You
can't take that back.
I admit that he's right way more than.
Ladies and gentlemen, your boy was right.
Listen.
One time.
You just need time to reflect.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. It is. There's always got to be someone in the relationship that brings the thing that the other needs to hear, and in our relationship, the majority of the time, it's you. You know, I was actually doing.
I thought he was going to say,
it's me. No.
I love me some me.
I'm crushing it these days. Actually, now that I think about it, you know,
we have to work on his confidence, guys.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's listen.
I'm the most humble man in the game. But no, I was doing a premarital counseling with a couple, and that was kind of the nature of our conversation. Is like, you know, they were a lot of times like they were noticing in some of the things they were getting into arguments. We were calling them growth opportunities. That they were like fighting to be right, as opposed to like fighting for peace. And they realized that they were doing that, and that they just softened their approach to one or the other, and they recognize how much like valuable perspective they were bringing to each other, and they one of the things they particularly saw that like and I don't know why this came to my mind, but it did, and they were talking about like husband and wife, because they were struggling with the idea of a very traditional view of marriage, with like man being the leader and the woman being the helper. And how one of the things I was helping them try to see is that a wife can lead her husband in a way that she fills in all the gaps of his leadership, helps him see the things that he can't see, helps him feel the things that he's not able to feel because he's so thinking about this one thing. And also what a man can do is help lead, you know, his wife out of some of the things that maybe she might become trapped in or might become preoccupied by. And so there's this leadership and this supplementing like beautiful thing that can happen in our relationships. Whereas like sometimes I'm like, you know, I feel like you might be stuck in something. It's my job to lead you out. And your job is to tell me you're not seeing all the things that you need to see. Let me help you see it. And so that like that's kind of like, I think probably one of the best pictures we had of us just like humbling ourselves to let each other help each other. And I thought that was really cool, because it reminded me of what I was even preemptively talking to another couple about, and then we got to experience it in our own relationship.
And I mean, we've known you guys, at least like in this context, for about a year, right? When we moved here and kind of were like, hey. And I was actually just reading a book, and I see this in you guys too, where it's like you're both strong personalities. Like we're both strong personalities. So how do two strong personalities that are like passionate, like how does that look, right? Because like I imagine, like you said, in the context of a growth opportunity, right? I love that. Growth opportunity. Who yields? Who's going to submit? Who's going to, and I was reading in this book, I love this. It talked about submission. Of course, we always think woman, wife to husband, but in a relationship, submission is often seen as dominance, which is why I think we fight to be right. But really submission is alignment. It's alignment. It's like, okay, listen, we're not like on the same page about this. I don't need to convince you, and vice versa, but let's at least meet somewhere where like we are both hearing each other and then move, forward from that. I've gotten much better over the years at being bold enough when sometimes Bert, admittingly, after a decade of being married, says, yeah, I definitely often think my ideas are the best ideas. Like, and I'm like, wow, you finally said that out loud. Cause I'm used to be an unhealthy like peacemaker where it was like, no, your ideas are not the best ideas. I need you to hear me out for a second. And so now we're in a place in our marriage where he's admittingly said that, and I'm not going to use that against him. That doesn't mean now I'm just going to assume every time we're in conflict, that's what's happening. But it's given me permission, language, really. Like it's giving me language when those moments are happening and it's tangible, where I'm like, okay, this is Birch thinking that his idea is better and he's not hearing me.
Not better, superior.
Superior is actually the word for me to say, listen, I need you for a second to like not think that your idea is the best. Like hear me out. And then let's come to an agreement. And so we definitely have those moments for sure.
It's so hard too. It's
Do you
so
guys
hard.
have those moments?
Oh yeah. That sounds exactly like us. You know, to even what you were saying, walking in that humility is so hard. You know, it's easier said than done. But being humble enough to be like, man, Heather might have something, you know, that I don't, that can add to, you know, my situation, my outlook on life. So.
And like, I have to be careful because a lot of times I will compare myself to Kenny and it's so unhealthy because most of the time Kenny is right. So, and I hate
Wait, that's recorded.
I need a bomb.
That's recorded.
I need a bomb.
So, and I get frustrated because it's like, no, I want to be right. And so I feel like it's a pride thing for me sometimes. I feel like I didn't really struggle with that. Like but I feel like as I get older or like since we're married, I'm like, no, I want to be right one of these times. And so I'll kind of like fight for it. Then I have to take time, reflect. And I'm like, okay, Kenny was right again.
Yeah.
So, and it's literally
this podcast is so healing, right? Like, did you just hear that?
I love it.
Yeah. It's humility. And I just feel like it's so harder as life goes on to be humble.
Yeah. It's true.
I love when, you know, I'll say something to Heather and then like, maybe like a month later, someone else will say the same thing. And then she's like,
don't say that, Kenny. Don't say that.
It makes total sense.
Don't say that.
I'm going to start that tomorrow.
All the time. Hey, do you feel seen right now? Do you feel seen right now?
Oh my gosh.
But here's the thing though. This is how life is, right? It's the same context with my kids. I will tell my boys something a million times.
Oh, yeah.
And then some way cool youth leader will come around and say the exact same thing.
Oh, we were the same way.
And I'm like, homie, I've been saying this for like 5 years. It's the same thing.
We were the same way.
It's the same thing.
We were
I
the
love
same way as
that.
kids. I remember one time, the first time I ever saw my dad like visibly be like really frustrated with me was one time I came home and I had a teacher in high school who was actually his name was Sergeant Henderson. He was in the JROTC program, and he told me something. I can't remember what it was now, but it had been something about getting up early, getting your day started right, blah 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 blah, discipline stuff. And I remember coming home telling my dad, I was like, Dad, I heard something revolutionary. And my dad was like, I think he told me to get out of his room. He said, I've been telling you that your entire life.
But it clicked. It clicked that day.
It clicked in that moment. And so, but you know, those things, you know, and it's funny, you're talking about the submission thing. And it's another thing that I was talking to this couple that I was doing premarital with, because I think sometimes somebody listens to this might hear us saying that, like, might hear the submission kind of language and think that that's something that is like exclusive to the wife in their relationship. And like, while the Bible does say, wives, submit yourselves to your husband out of reverence and fear of the Lord, the Bible also tells husbands to love your wife as Christ loved the church. And I think the context of that statement is super important, because you have to ask yourself, in which way did Christ love the church? Well, he died for the church. So he literally sacrificed at the highest level possible for his bride. Right. And so, like, if we think that the onus is on the wife as husbands to submit to me, well, we had better be sacrificing for her before she even had. Submission is a response to sacrifice.
Preach.
You know what I'm saying? So like, if there's any desire for me as a husband to see my wife align with me, then she had better experienced me first, sacrificing myself for her. Like laying down my preference, laying down my my right to be right, or laying down my attitude, or even, there's times where like I do like it is an area of growth for me to not think that like the way that I think about things is way more well processed than others, and I understand that about myself, and I've got to even that thing that is possibly like a subconscious part of who I am. I've got to even sacrifice that to say, like, I don't have all the ideas. What do you think? And like, if I expect to even say something and be the leader and see alignment come, she's got to experience me being sacrificial in that way as well too. And so that I think that's cool with couples. Like, there's times where one person is, feeling a certain way on something, and we might agree or not agree, and we have to try to find a common ground somewhere. But man, as I don't know, as husbands, I just feel like there's a little bit, the onus is on us as well too, in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and I think again, culture doesn't it's not trending, right? To like serve your spouse. It's not trending for the student to honor his teacher and think of what the teacher needs. It's not trending for whatever that relationship looks like. And so I think it's important, honestly, even if you're not married, maybe you're listening to this and you're a student, from child to parent. The Bible also says honor your mother and father, but it also says don't exacerbate your children, right? So I think all of God's commands, we can twist it to the side that benefits us. But when you take the whole statement in context, it's a very mutual submission.
Yeah, right.
It's a very, our pastor taught recently, dislodging dishonor is to remember that everything has a fixed value on it. Don't treat it as common.
Correct.
And I think, to kind of circle back to how we even got here, if you're spending a lot of time together, if we're spending a lot of time together, we can, if we're not careful, treat it as very common.
Right.
And then that's where some of those things will happen where it's like, well, I have to do this, or you know what I'm saying? Versus I get to do this, it's a privilege that honestly, I'll say this, I didn't grow up in the healthiest environment when there were disagreements. Conflict resolution wasn't a thing.
Right.
And so I think when we early got married, I didn't know how to be able to disagree. It was either one of two things was going to happen. I was going to just completely shut down because I'd rather just be in a very unhealthy way. Okay, yeah, you're right. Yeah. Because I couldn't go there. I was afraid if I disagreed, I was going to look like a lot of things I saw, right, in my childhood. He's going to get upset. He's going to leave. He's going to, whatever. Or I would fight back hard. No, you're not going to tell me. You know what I'm saying? And I think that in marriage, you have to be careful not to bring some of that unhealth and some of that trauma into your relationship, because I actually think it's this kind of dynamic experience to realize that the things you're different in is actually really on purpose. God in his sovereignty put two aligned people that are also really different. I feel like I hear you guys and I laugh because every couple I meet, it's the same. It's oh yeah, we're so different in this.
Yeah.
And then you're well, but how'd they end up together? Well, because you're aligned in what needs to be aligned. Yeah. But everything else is kind of cool. Because it's you're always bringing this different perspective. And the Bible says, iron sharpens iron. Yes. Listen, you can't have that without friction. So I think for someone listening, maybe the takeaway is conflict or disagreement, if you use it in the right way, can actually be really impactful.
Kind of coming back to what you guys do with Fostering Acadia, a lot of people may not fully understand or grasp what it looks like for a person to age out of the foster care system, and maybe what happens to them if there is no Fostering Acadia. You know what I'm saying? And because I don't think until you guys kind of broke it down for us that I really considered what it was like for a foster kid to turn 18. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So maybe just kind of unpack like, maybe some of the things that people don't understand is happening in the world of a foster care youth if there's not a Fostering Acadia in existence. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Well, even like to go a little bit before that. So typically like the average foster care youth could live in like 20 different places throughout their lives. Mm-hmm. So like they could move 3 to 4 to 5 times in a year or every year. And so stability is a huge area of their life that they don't know what it means.
Yeah.
So like for them to age out, it's like, okay, they have to find out where they want to go, or even with them being in our organization, them having their own apartment, them like staying in that one spot, it's weird for them.
Wow.
They're used to moving so much. And so in even having permanency, so we have something called a permanency project. And basically we try to get them, involved with someone in a family in the community, like so where they could do life with. So this could be after they age out of foster care. So they could go to like Christmas at their house or do like family vacation or just go bowling or something. So to have people in their lives, for as long as they want.
Yeah. And we talked about, community, how that's super important.
Very.
And that's the same with our youth. So like when they age out, they're going to have people no matter what. And so, our goal is to surround them with community that will lift them up.
Yes.
A mentor of ours, he said like, what friends are like elevators, they either take you up or down. And so for a lot of these youth, they have a lot of people that are going to just take them down, keep them in the same cycles that they've grown up in. And so, I think, our job is like, while they're in the program, to surround them with mentorship that will help them do life, help them get the tools that they need to live, in today's community, today's world. And so, Permanency Project is a huge part of that. So like once they're out, they have someone to lean on, they have someone to be there for them. That's healthy.
Yeah. And most youth don't even have a learner's permit or a driver's license because like when they're in a foster home or in a foster group or
a group home?
Yes, group home. I couldn't think. They don't want to be put on the insurance. And so typically
that was mind blowing. When you explained that, I was like, whoa, wait a second.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a process for sure. And then since they do move around so much, a lot of them haven't graduated from high school or like have any type of education. So,
Yeah. And so I mean, getting into that field, like I didn't know too much about it, and so my eyes have been like super open to, the reality of the situation, the reality of, those foster kids. And so, my heart really goes out to them. And so, it's been awesome just getting a part or being a part of their lives, a part of their journey, just to help them in their lives. So.
Yeah. And even for them like to take initiative to do things because a lot of decisions were already made for them. Like they didn't have that opportunity to make decisions for themselves. And so it's hard for them to like even get a job interview by themselves because they don't want to take the initiative to, apply online or just, move their lives forward. So, yeah.
I think what I love about you guys, so like, of course, as we were planning for this podcast, obviously to highlight you guys and, your relationship, but it's a big part of, what you guys are passionate about. And it's really cool too, because for us, we've shared in the podcast, we felt very strongly that God was calling us to Richmond. And I know it only took us half a second because of the specific location in Richmond that God told us, this is it. We pull out 2 stop signs and a traffic light, and we just see a lot of what I would imagine is potentially a lot of foster situations that aged out. So correct me if I'm wrong. I think a lot and I just admittingly, like most of my life, living a very privileged life, I was ignorant to the fact that a lot of our homeless community, we love to just say they're lazy or, well, they can just get a job. And I don't know if it was you, Heather, but I felt like somebody brought it to my attention that a lot is this situation where they age out of foster care. And, like you said, you're talking almost 20, because when we say age out, someone's probably thinking 18. It could be, you were saying like 21. Right? Is that like the
for independent living?
Okay. So like they're coming to you 18, 19, 20, 21, right? They don't know how to drive. We've heard stories they don't know how to read. They don't have basic life skills, not because anything's wrong with them, but because of the constant moving around and the detachment styles that makes it difficult for them to, like you said, feel motivated, to be internally driven. So I think of like, I see situations when I drive out and I see this community, like what would be something you feel would be helpful for someone listening to understand, in the sense of like, maybe just like the win of this podcast is that when you see somebody in hardship, to maybe just like not assume, not everyone decided the life that they're living. And like, just maybe, obviously, you know, to protect the youth that you get to work with, you can't obviously like share like specific, but like maybe some stories that have impacted you. Like you said, 2+ years, Kenny, you've been 1 year with the organization. Like, has there been a moment or a story that like really impacted you? Like even you said, like, I wasn't really aware of like what this whole system was like. For someone listening to maybe the next time they see somebody, it's going to be compassion and not judgment, or even a step further, action. Like getting involved, like partnering. When we moved here, we were like, God, use us. Like, please, like whatever that looks like. So maybe like a story or something that in the year and 2 years that you've done this, that like really marked you, as far as like what you get to do with the youth.
Yeah, I would say one of my youth, I've had them for almost a year now. So they came in, so their foster home, they did not click with the family because basically they would talk down to them. They didn't think like they were going to do anything in life. They didn't really agree with how they expressed themselves, with what they wore or what music they listened to. So they always felt like they were being judged. And so like a lot of the youth just want acceptance. So they'll find out that acceptance anywhere, and they just want love. So it's crazy like how much just a word of encouragement and just kind of like that healthy push to get them to do something. So I have a youth who thought in their brain that they would never graduate from high school. They already graduated.
Wow.
And they thought that they would never drive. So they just got a car this past week. They have their license, and
it's great.
You know, they're doing things that they never thought that they would do. And so it's just really rewarding to know, like, okay, I spoke into their lives. I encouraged them, and look what they're doing.
And that's what I was going to ask is like, what do you think was different? And I think you just said it. You came alongside them and pretty much spoke life over them.
It's great.
And that's honestly, how powerful is that? Kenny, I want to hear, and then will you share also too a little, you mentioned the car and the high school graduate. That's part of what your organization does, like helping them get there. So like, and maybe share at some point, like what that looks like. But any like stories with, you know, the youth that you get to partner with?
Yeah, I have a guy that's in we call it a pod, but he's in my group.
I love that.
And so before, you know, I got to Fostering Acadia, apparently like he was just like unavailable. No one saw him. You know, he was like a totally different character. And I guess when I started working with him, you know, he was just able to, you know, completely change that around. And I think that has to do with, you know, someone that's consistent in his life that was like, hey, like, I believe in you. You can do this, this, and this in your life. And I think that combined with like the tools that we give. And I was just thinking about this. I was like, we're all expected to build a house called life, you know, and it's kind of unfair because not everyone has like the tools to build that house, you know.
That's so good.
And so, you know, giving them the tools like a high school diploma, you know, there's your hammer, you know, a saw, you know, a driver's license, a permit, you know, just those basic things they can get started. And that combined with, you know, a push and encouragement, telling them that we believe in you, you can do this, you've got it. It gives them that motivation, you know? And so, he's my dude, you know, he's doing great. So, I mean, it's been life-changing for me, you know, as much as it's been for them.
Yeah. And another thing, like, it's really hard for them. So in our field of work, it's a very high burnout rate because there's a lot of highs, a lot of lows with the jobs, very emotional. And so like we were talking about earlier, it's really good to have healthy outlets. So our head of director, he is very big on, you know, self-care, make sure that you are taking time off, make sure that, you know, you're having fun and that you're enjoying life because if you're not, you're want to burn out, you're going to want to quit. And so, and with that, when a lot of people quit, they're having to meet new people over and over and over again, whether it's a social worker,
even
caseworker.
Outside of the foster system. There's that transition.
Sure.
Yeah.
Wow.
Or even like false promises made to them saying, oh yeah, I'm going to be with you the whole way through. And then like 6 months later, they end up quitting their job. And so it's like, it's hard for them to trust anyone.
Yeah.
So initially, it usually takes about a few months for them to like get to know you, actually trust what you're saying. Yeah.
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 Which I think we were talking again off camera is we were just reminding each other that it's, while it is relational, you can't take it personal. Yes. So like what you just said, because I could just, obviously I know you guys, you get this youth and you're just so ready. I'm imagining immediately you're like in a healthy way, like you love them.
Yeah.
You want to see them thrive, but it takes months for them to even give you the time of day. That can be really defeating, right? If you're not careful as the person who is, assigned to help them learn to have that trust. You have to still be relational, but not take personal. Those moments where maybe like, you said your guy was unavailable to everybody. I wonder how many people just decided, like that's just who he is until like, say Kenny comes around and is like, I'm here. And I love that visual of the house. Like we're all called to build a house called life, but not everyone gets the same amount of tools. Like that's really powerful. Cause I think that's like pretty like profound to think that a lot of these youth that age out of foster system, like it's so true. It's like we have such a head start. Like my sons having both parents present and healthy homes, not perfect, but healthy.
Absolutely.
When they turn 18, honestly, like they're leaps and bounds ahead of some of the youth, or the majority probably of the youth that come out of the system. And yet, rather than have, again, compassion towards that and meet them where they are and undo maybe some of the damage that's been spoken, a lot of times we just write them off. Right? Like I think you said at one point is like, oh yeah, I get the bad group, right? Like we all have those like teachers too, right?
The hard kids.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Sometimes you're like, man, why do I get the hard class? And then it's like, no, I got the hard class.
Yeah.
Dude, like how crazy. I'm tired. But like, I wonder how many years of their life they heard that. I'm the bad kid. I'm the bad group. And they just waiting for you to like jump on board with everybody who gave up on them. And
man, it's really good. That's really good. I wonder if there's people who are listening to this and I don't know, they got a burden in the last 35 minutes listening to you guys talk about what you do. If there's any way that they could, find a way to get involved, and it might be as personal as prayer. It might be as
sacrificial as partnering financially,
financially with you guys. If people wanted to, like, how could they do that?
For us personally at our organization, we have different opportunities for volunteers to get involved. Whether like we always have different events, holidays are big for us, so whether it be Valentine's Day, Easter, Christmas, we always try to do something special for our youth. So we, receive donations for Christmas gifts, Easter baskets. We have a lot of mothers, in our program that have kids. So accepting things for them, like toys for their kids, diapers, kind of anything that will help. And so there's different independent living organizations, around the...
That's important. I wanted someone to hear that. Yes. That you guys represent one of many organizations. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. And so you can look that up probably on the social services website. And I think there's plenty more, in other states as well. But for ours, it's just easy as a phone call, an email, just saying how can we help out, and we can...
So we know this because as I was preparing, Fostering Acadia is on YouTube. So you guys have great videos that, I watched the one about the mom. I was just like a mess, but you guys have a really great platform. So I would encourage maybe someone listening, Fostering Acadia. I'm curious, what does it mean? What does the name of the organization mean? Am I putting you on the spot? Do you guys know? What does it mean?
All right.
I forgot.
I might butcher this. And so I'm going to get not chewed out, but so I believe Okay, because we have like different fun staff meetings, and this was actually like a question that was like on a trivia thing.
Yeah.
Nice.
And so I'm pretty sure this is kind of like in the same lane. So I'm pretty sure. So Jason, our founder, director, so he had either a foster youth or you know, a girl that he was, you know, involved in her life, and so her name was Acadia.
Okay.
And so that's pretty much.
So Acadia is a name.
I'm pretty sure
the first person maybe that they fostered.
I'm pretty sure either the first person or someone from
somebody that aged out or something. Yeah.
I probably got that totally wrong.
This was a good pop quiz.
Yeah, I forgot. I know he's talked about it.
I'm pretty sure.
Or maybe it means like a home, or I don't know.
We're gonna have to look it up.
You guys are gonna have to come back because what you're gonna have to do. You know what I'm saying?
What does Google say? Hold on a second.
A little update.
All right, I'm gonna look this up while we continue talking real quick.
So, it's probably on the website, so y'all just look at the website and y'all can comment or whatever. Tell me I'm wrong.
They also have an Instagram page and Facebook.
If we can follow you guys, about this. Like let us know all the handles, all the @, all those things. Go ahead.
Fostering Acadia.
Instagram.org. Yes.org. Yeah. Facebook.
Yeah. And then if you just type in Fostering Acadia, it's not Arcadia.
We'll link all this stuff in our descriptions and in the pinned comments, stuff like that as well. Yeah.
We're in the Richmond, Henrico area.
And then you'll typically see like a little gray logo that says FA on it.
Yeah. Right on. Mm-hmm. Perfect.
So far, it doesn't say, guys.
Excellent.
Okay.
Oh, it doesn't say.
Well, hey, we'll believe that. We'll believe that.
We're going with that story.
Yeah, I love that story.
Acadia was a baller.
Yeah, I love it. This is fantastic. This has been a great conversation, guys. Honestly, I feel like our listeners and us as well have got to know you and what you do a whole lot better, and it's very compelling. You guys have got a great thing that you're a part of, and you know, I just know that the Lord's going to do more in and through you guys, because of your marriage and your unity in the future than you guys could even ever expect. You know, it's really cool to find something that you really believe in, that you can do together, you can be aligned in, and you can see the tangible difference you're making in people like right away. And so it's awesome. I love it. We're glad that we get to be in you guys' lives. We're glad you're in our life.
Yeah.
You know, we're glad you're in our home, and we're excited that you guys get to be part of this episode.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I just want to encourage someone listening to something, you know, we love is like, you know, we got to know you. And I think it's important when you meet people and you're building relationship to ask them their story. I don't know. I just felt really led to share this. Like, how many times you've been friends with somebody and then someone's like, oh, what do they do? And you're like, actually, I don't know. And you just like don't know anything about the people. And so I just want to encourage, you know, someone listening. And what I love about as every time we do get to hang out, I feel like we just learned something new about you guys, like something more, like what you're dreaming about, what you're struggling with, what you're passionate about. Like, and I would just encourage someone listening, when we speak of community, I think it's really important to constantly be asking people their story, because I think you'll realize that there's a lot of times, a lot you have in common, but then there's also so much opportunity to like find healing through community. And so thanks for sharing your story.
Yeah, guys.
Because
absolutely.
I mean, it's awesome. And we're super proud of you guys. So grateful to have you on this season.
It's an honor.
And you guys did incredible on your first ever
podcast.
Great job.
Go ahead, drop the bomb.
Oh, yeah. Drop the bomb one more time. Yes. All the applause, all the things. You guys did incredible. All the things. Incredible. Well, thank you guys again for joining us for the Black and White Podcast. No matter how you check out this podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, we're so grateful that you did. Do us a huge favor, share the podcast on your social. You could also follow it, leave a rating and a review. It would do so much, cost you nothing, but goes a really long way to encourage somebody in your life. We'd love for you to follow us on our social media accounts. Birch and Lauren's Instagram is @LaurenNicolePaul. You can follow me My Name is Birch on Instagram. And you can also follow the podcast @TBWPod on Instagram. We'd love to hear from you guys. Feel free to send us a DM with a question or a comment, or maybe an idea for an upcoming episode. We'd love to hear from you, and we would love to chat further down the line. Once again, thank you for joining us for another episode of the Black and White Podcast. My name is Birch. This is Lauren, and this is Kenny and Heather, and we are out of here.
Deuces. Oh, he's going to record this for the podcast. So we have the founder, director of Fostering Acadia on the phone with us. So he's going to tell us what the name Fostering Acadia means. All right, go ahead, Jason.
So is this like phoning a friend? Is that what this is?
Absolutely, 100%.
100%. There's a lot of money on the line here.
So it's actually kind of a serious story, but so where Acadia comes from is my best friend in college. His name was Lance, and he and I were on the track team together. We met our wives on the track team, and he had started his family and had 3 kids. I started my family. We had 3 kids. We started working in a group home together, which was kind of our introduction to foster care. Well, unfortunately, in 2013, he ended up with a mental health disorder and ended up passing away in 2013. And his daughter's name was Acadia, or is Acadia. And so she was really young when he passed away. And so Fostering Acadia is kind of like a homage to him and his family and what we started together in the foster care field.
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
That is beautiful.
That's awesome.
Okay, Kenny, your response was pretty close.
Yeah, it was. I said it had to do something with, some girl named Acadia that Jason was connected to, or like he fostered, or something like that. So
You were kind of close.
it was close to that.
I was way off.
So we learned that, Acadia is a home style of building homes, that there's a whole community in Canada. We were like...
So when it's Lance and Samantha, that was his wife's name, they named her Acadia actually after Acadia National Park.
There you go. So that makes sense because we said it's a place. True.
They were really big into hiking. She's from Maine, and Acadia is in Maine. So
Wow.
Dang.
Yeah.
That's beautiful, though.
Okay.
Thank
you, Jason.
Thank you,
I appreciate
Jason.
She's a real person, not a house.
Okay, I need to remember this.
You need to make Heather run laps or something at the office.
So she has to teach the meeting now.
Or you have to teach the meeting to all the staff next meeting.
Maybe what I'll do is I'll make sure that Kenny has my Christmas present again this year. So,
Oh, hey.
Oh, yes.
I mean, that will benefit
If you know,
both
you
of
know.
us.
Yeah.
you know.
All right.
Have a good night.
Thank
Yeah,
you,
you
too.
too.
Thank you.
See ya.
All right, bye.
There it is. There it is. Now we know.
Like I said, Kenny's mostly right.
This time.
Yeah.